chuckles. I'm in danger. 250 can possibly go to the outside. He does go to the outside of Ricky Harden. Tries a slide draft him. Harden goes up the track. Now back down to the bottom. Gets a huge push from Tommy Ryan at the start finish. It's going to be Thomas George.
Running the high line, trying to make that
got
pass.
loose off turn 4.
In the grass goes the 6 car, and they were side by side, 2 by 2 here.
Scott Eckler winning the last race of the season and the championship.
Jeff Ford definitely getting the championship for season 2.
Give it up for Thomas George, winning the race and the championship. George overshoots the corner. Scott puts that car just where he needs to on the middle. It's going to be a drag race through the kick. Virginia was for caution lovers as Scott Eckridge continued his winning ways, completing a three-peat last week in Richmond. Tonight we're on stop number 2 of 3 on our short track swing here in Bristol, Tennessee, and just like last year, it's covered in dirt. Last year it was Jeff Ford who brought home the victory in this race. Can he do the same races in back-to-back years like Scott Eckridge has been doing? Stay tuned to find out as we get underway for the Get Dirty at Bristol, Get Clean with Mane and Tail 125. Thank you for joining us for the eighth race of the PGRL season on the Virtual Grip Network. I'm Austin Belke, joined by J.R. Shepard and Kenny Gibby in the booth with our director Ryan Seneker in the production trailer. J.R., what can you tell us about this dirt-covered abomination?
Well, Austin, this is Bristol dirt, baby. Tonight, the last great Coliseum has been filled with approximately 8,000 cubic feet of red clay that's going to challenge these drivers to find grip here all night tonight. This track is just slightly over a half mile, and the turns are banked roughly between 22 and 24 degrees tonight. One of the biggest things that we're going to be looking at or talking about all night tonight is the transition of this racing surface. iRacing has done a pretty fantastic job of simulating the dirt surface and how it reacts and changes to each time the cars pass over it. Starting out, I'm expecting this surface is going to have a lot of grip, and most of the drivers are probably going to be running in the middle to the higher lines, utilizing that throttle and carrying that momentum down the straightaway. As we get deeper into the runs, that top surface and track cushion will widen out and become slicker and slicker. I think towards the end of this race, drivers will be searching for the bottom to find some additional grip, looking for a place where less cars have ran throughout this race. The bottom line tonight, Austin, these drivers have to be able to adapt to the changing track conditions and be willing to move around and change their racing line if they want a chance to win here tonight in Thunder Valley.
Thank you, JR. You folks at home can see some of the weather information for tonight's race on your screen. 77 degrees Fahrenheit here in Bristol, 56% humidity, partly cloudy with 2-mile-an-hour winds. Kenny, it looks like for right now we are going to actually interview the pole sitter after all the heats have completed. So why don't you give us your Kenny's keys for tonight?
Yeah, so tonight the feature event will be 125 laps, which there will be 2 tire sets in the pits, but they won't necessarily be needed tonight. And I believe we will have a stage caution right at the middle of the event, which that'll be the only caution tonight. So not really a whole lot of tire strategy or fuel strategy. You'll pit at the halfway, and that'll be about it. Obviously, the pole sitter will be determined by the heat races tonight. But the keys, staying on the lead lap because of the lack of cautions. Any kind of problems could put you multiple laps down. You want to be on the lead lap when the stage caution comes. Also, adapting to changing track conditions. It's on dirt. The track's going to continuously change with varying amounts of moisture moving around the track and the track drying out. So we'll see that grip and the groove move continuously through the event, and that's the last key, searching for grip, searching for the moisture, where the preferred line is. You want to avoid running in the slick, and every lap will be a different lap here at Bristol Dirt.
Thank you, Kenny. And yeah, you touched on it there a little bit in the intro to your keys. Tonight's starting grid is actually for the feature event going to be decided on by the heat races. How the heat racing order was set, the same old normal inversion that we go through, except this time it's whoever would be, first, second, third. They all get to start on pole in their own heat. So it's not like you're going to have all the good guys in one heat and all the people that would normally be starting at the front of the field due to a poor finish last week starting at the back. So without further ado then, time for the gridding order for heat number 1. We're going to have 7 cars in this. All 7 cars are going to go to the feature. Again, this just sets the final finishing order, starting order I should say. However, the winner of this heat does get to start on pole, and we'll interview them just before the main feature 125 lap event. Starting on pole for this race, this heat race number 1, Dee Dambiozzi. She's going to have Cosmin Ioanniscu to her outside. Michael Krobach is going to start in the 3rd position, followed by Jeff Ward in 4th. Creighton Carter rounds out your top 5 with Thomas George and Ryan Rose rounding out your 7-car field. JR, 10 laps to go from the back of the field all the way to the front if you're somebody that wants to start on the pole for this race, or even just reduce the amount of cars that are starting ahead of you for that feature event. 10 laps isn't a whole lot of time to do it, so you're going to have to be cold and calculating about your moves here.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to have to be quick and take every single run that you can get. One of the guys I'm going to be watching is the one starting in 4th place, Jeff Ward. We know he won here last year. He's trying to get his season turned around, and he's starting on that high side where I believe the most grip's going to be at the start of this heat.
And you'll notice the track state, guys, is carried over from practice. It'll be reset again once we reach warm-up before the feature, down to 0%. But the track's pretty worn right now because there was a lot of activity during that practice session.
Yeah, that should, though, guys, give these drivers a lot of opportunities to see what the track is going to race like, though, later in the night, I would have to assume.
Yeah, exactly right, Austin. This is where you want to get your practice in and see what that car is going to do toward the end of the feature event, because that's where the payout is. You want to make sure that you know where to place your car during this heat race.
iRacing pace truck gets ready to make the hard left turn down pit road. Going to come down the track and give Dee Dambiozzi control of the field. She's going to put her foot on the loud pedal and lead the field into turn number 1 for heat number 1 here at Bristol Dirt. She's got Cosmin Ioanniscu looking to make a move on the outside, and just behind her on the bottom, now make that the lead car on the bottom, Michael Krobach in the 72 car. He's making a chart. Whoa, look at Dee Dambiozzi. She's going for one heck of a spin.
Yeah, had a little bit of contact entering the corner, and it was just more than what she needed, just a little more entry speed, and it just sent her car right around.
So that Michael Krobach in the front of the field here. Jeff Ward, though, in the 3rd position. He's looking to make a charge up through the field here. We'll see if he can get any closer as time goes on.
Yeah, right now, Krobach, Michael, he's under attack right now from Cosmin up front. Cosmin's wanting to get that lead. Everybody knows in this heat race that whoever wins this one is going to be starting out front in the feature.
Oh, Krobach tagged the wall with the right rear that last time before he went into turn number 3. You can see, though, kind of worked out to his effect, though, because he's got a big lead, just over a half a second right now over Cosmin Ioanniscu. And there's Jeff Ward in the 3rd position in that 9 car. Cosmin Ioanniscu getting really bent out of shape. That should give Jeff Ward a pretty good run down the backstretch if he didn't put that car in the wall just a little bit. But, guys, he won this race last year. He's one of the guys I'm looking at to do a really good job in that feature event.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, it's a little bit more difficult probably for Jeff in this race, because this race only 10 laps. You've got to go hard. In the feature last year, he did not take that lead until probably the last third of the race, I believe. So he's very calm and cautious behind the wheel and takes his time getting to the front.
Yeah, certainly. He was one of the dominant cars last year, but he was not the dominant car leading all the laps. He really just kind of came out strong towards the end. And that's kind of why Michael Krobach gets extremely loose there. That's going to give these two hounds just in behind him a good opportunity to close up. Cosmin Ioanniscu looking to make a move down the inside for the lead. Oh, he's going to spin himself.
Yeah, and Austin, one of the things that we saw there, there's contact with Thomas George late in that, but it looked like Michael got his left front splitter on that transition between the banking and the apron of the racetrack. When you do that, it just sends your car right around like we saw with Michael. He did a great job not actually spinning the car out there.
And how about that pass for the lead there? Jeff Ward using the bottom of the track to go around Michael Krobach. So new leader, number 9 car, Jeff Ward, up to the front.
Guys, I'm
And-
noticing the cars, especially on, I believe it's the back stretch, the cars are really bouncing violently with this worn track state.
Yeah, what does that do to the handling of the car, Kenny? Did you experience any of that in your NIS race on Saturday?
Honestly, not really. And it might be because the track was maybe not this worn in my race because we spent the whole race under caution. But yeah, it's just something I noticed. The back end's really bouncing up and down on these cars. And JR, does that kind of affect like the throttle application down the straightaways?
Yes, absolutely. You're going to get to where this track is so slick on the straightaways that you're not full throttle just in order to keep the car going straight. Otherwise, you're spinning the rear tires, and like you said earlier, the car is bouncing. That rear end is bottoming out, and every time it bottoms out, it kind of moves the car into a different direction. So you're kind of back and forth on that steering wheel. Throttle application becomes huge at that point.
Checkered flag in the air for Jeff Ward. He's going to win heat race number 1 and start on pole for the main feature event. So we're going to talk to him when the drivers get to their warm-up a little bit later in today's show. Once all the heat races finish up, it looks like there are going to be 4 for right now. Then we'll get the opportunity to have a 5-minute break in the racing action for these drivers to get reacclimated with a fresh track state. And then we can get to an opportunity to talk to Jeff Ward. I believe it'll be the first one we've had this season, guys. There's the results from heat race number 1. Jeff Ward, Michael Krobach, Ryan Rose on your proverbial podium. Thomas George, D. D'Ambiose, Creighton Carter, Cosmin Ionescu rounds out the field 3 laps down. Without further ado, we can bring you folks at home the starting order for heat race number 2. Shane Davis making his debut tonight is going to start in the pole position. He's going to have Vincent Crowe starting to his outside. Brian Yazik's going to roll off in the 3rd position, followed by Woody Mahan in 4th, with Will Farmer in 5th, Jason Galvin 6th, and last week's winner, Scott Eckridge, in 7th.
Yeah, and Austin Scott ran really well in this race last year, led a lot of laps before getting into an accident, not of his doing. He's definitely wanting to do that same type of showing here tonight. He's going to have to make up some ground in this heat race if he wants to start toward the front.
Yeah, Woody Mahan was another one of those drivers that did a phenomenal job last year, just didn't quite have the pace at the end to bring home the checkered flag. Another one of those drivers to keep your eye on as this race continues to progress through the night, especially once the heat racing starts. He was one of those guys that really started to come on strong towards the end of a long run, so we'll have to see if he can continue to do that this year. The lights are out atop the iRacing pace truck, so it's going to make the hard left turn as it exits turn 4 this time by and give control of the field over to Shane P. Davis. Like I said, making his PGRL debut tonight. Driver from West Plains, Missouri. There goes the pace truck down the track. Green flag flies in the air. A little bit of a delayed start for our drivers there. Oh, yeah, you can see Crowe on the outside is going to get a really good start there. Not quite good enough to hang to the outside there of Davis, but he's going to try his best as they come out of turn 2. Davis with a strong lead. Both the front 2 cars have broken away from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, they have, and you can see right now the slick through the center of the track. That is a place you want to avoid a little bit right now. The main grip that this track surface has is at the very bottom or at the very top. That's where you're going to get your biggest runs.
Oh man, Vincent Crowe is really struggling this time in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Oh, a little bit of contact there. Sends the 19 car of Farmer a little bit awry.
Yeah, and that's just getting loose through that slick while you're side by side with another driver. You see the guys up front right now. Shane Davis, is still running that very high line. He's making it work and pulling away from everybody.
Yeah, he's doing a phenomenal job. He has about a 1.5-second lead over Vincent Crowe. Vincent right now being hounded by Woody Mahan just behind him, and just behind Woody by about another second or so is the 70 car of Scott Eckridge. If he were to win tonight, it'd be 4 in a row for him.
Yeah, he definitely got things turned around. We were a little bit worried about him at the beginning of the season. Somebody that we're used to seeing up front and dominating a lot of races, but he certainly got it turned around in the last few weeks.
Going to start the halfway lap. This time by is Shane Davis. He still has a 1.7-second lead over Vincent Crowe, so he continues to grow that further and further as the race goes on. And Kenny, that we talked about it last week, that a driver can find a rhythm here, can do the same thing on a dirt track, especially dirt Bristol.
Oh, we'll get back to that in a second as Scott Eckrich just crashed there while Vincent Crowe spun, and Eckrich had nowhere to go, and they both collided, and that will take two of the fastest players, move them down the order, and that'll actually put Woody Mahan into second. As you take a look there, as Eckrich was committed to the corner and just could not avoid Vincent Crowe.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to change directions on dirt.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we're going to see in the feature race. We know there's no cautions. When something happens in front of you, it is almost impossible to avoid. You can try throttling up, throwing the car sideways, or hitting the brakes, but either way, you're not going to have much control on where your car's going.
Yeah, there's going to be a whole lot of calamity come the end of this race. But Kenny, back to my question. We talked about getting in a rhythm last week. Can you get in a rhythm at Dirt Bristol the same way you could if it were normal Bristol?
Well, I think it's a little bit different just because the conditions are always so changing. But you can get into a rhythm if you have a decent amount of green flag racing. You can try, hitting your marks and being smooth on the gas application. As we see another car kind of beached down there. That's Will Farmer. He's kind of stuck down there. No caution. There will be no cautions. But yeah, I'd say this can be a rhythm racetrack, especially if things start to kind of spread out like they are now.
See Brian Yazik there going around the outside of the 42 car. That's Jason Galvin down on the bottom. Oh, kind of pinching him up the track just a little bit. Yazik saw that. Oh, close. That was a very close call with Scott Eckrich.
Yeah, Scott doing a very good job here, making a comeback on the final lap here, going from, I think he was all the way back in 6th place, guys, and he's going to finish 3rd.
Yeah, coming off a turn 4 checkered flag in the air here for Shane Davis. He picked a phenomenal time to start in the league. He's going to get his first checkered flag here in heat race number 2. Looks like Woody Mahan is going to come across the start line in 2nd place with Scott Eckrich, who comes back miraculously for a podium finish there after colliding with Vincent Crowe after he went spinning. Brian Yazik finishes in 4th. Vincent Crowe in 5th. Jason Galvin in 6th. And Will Farmer rounds out the 7-car field. Interesting there that Jason Galvin elected to go down pit road there when he was going to get the white flag. I don't know what that was about. Unless maybe he was trying to make sure he started in the back.
Yeah, it's always a possibility. If you're not used to the dirt, one thing to do is just start in the back and complete the laps. Just stay out of trouble, and you'd be surprised what kind of finish you could get.
You can see the heat number 2 results on your screen. Shane Davis takes the checkered flag. Woody Mahan, Scott Eckrich round out the podium. For heat number 3, Brandon Bikey is going to start on the pole, followed by Mike Rasmus in 2nd. Brian Greenlee is in 3rd. Jake Sylvia in 4th. Cy Ferris in 5th. Clarence Bonner rounds out the 6-car field.
Galvin might have actually had some damage at the end of that heat. He did have a collision with a couple laps to go with Will Farmer, who had spun out. So he might have pulled off anyway because of track wanting to be in the back, but might have also had damage too.
Interesting note here about our driver on the pole for heat race number 3, Brandon Bikey. That is how you pronounce his last name. He's a driver for Team Watson Racing. He's from Dunedin, Florida. And I guess that's how you pronounce it. I've never heard of it being pronounced like that, but that's it. And apparently he likes long walks on the beach. So that's what Michael Krobach likes to tell us. So we're just going to assume that that's gospel.
Well, I assume that his hometown is near the coastline of Florida then.
I would hope so. Otherwise, he spends probably a majority of his free time driving to and from the beach just to go on those long walks.
It is interesting to see a few drivers making their debuts on the dirt here because they're not going to really get a good indication of what the PGRL looks like on a weekly basis with the racing dynamic being so different on this particular week.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if all these guys coming in are dirt guys. I guess we'll have to see if Brandon does the same job that Shane was able to do. Green flag flies in the air. Look at that start there from Mike Rasmus around the outside. He's going to take the lead before they even get to turn 1. Clarence Bonner going for a wild ride there in the back of the field. Looks like Brandon Bikey going to start to challenge back for Mike Rasmus. They're too wide for the lead as they go into turns 3 and 4. Don't look now, but here comes Brian Greenlee trying to make this a 3-car fight for the lead. Jake Sylvia, excuse me.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I want to point out right now, this is how the track will be toward the end of the feature race. What I'm seeing is awesome because we have two different lines. You can run on the very bottom and on the very top, and they're pretty equal right now.
Brandon Bikey pulls away into the lead. Jake Sylvia pulling a slide job there. And Mike Rasmus. Mike looks like he's going to make a challenge to the outside before they get to the front stretch. Not quite, though. Jake Sylvia going to cover him off. A very veteran-like move there by Sylvia, just kind of driving up the track, putting the power down.
Yeah, definitely going to see a little bit of a slide job tonight throughout this race. Not anything major because the track gets really, really slick in the iRacing service, but you will see the guys be able to charge that inside line when they're side by side with somebody and try to slide up in front of them and take that momentum away.
I'll be curious if we can see one of those moves. Oh, Mike Rasmus up into the outside wall. He's going to get stuck in there hard. And Kenny, I know you didn't necessarily get stuck up in the outside wall, but a lot of the other guys in our NIS race did. And it looked like they had a really difficult time pulling that car off there. It looks like Mike Rasmus experiencing the same difficulties.
Yeah, I mean, you can, you try to get the car turned with throttle, and sometimes you'd run into cases where you'd either just slide up the track or you develop a push and get up into that wall. And once you hop up the cushion and get up into the fence, it is really difficult to get the car off of it. And sometimes it'll actually lead to you spinning across the track too, which nobody wants that either. So it's a sticky situation when that happens.
Two wide battle for the lead. Jake Sylvia continues to look down to the inside of Brandon Bikey. They're too wide as they go into turns 3 and 4. We'll see if Bikey can throw a slide job. Not quite. It doesn't look like he needs to. He is going to come up and be clear for that first place position. They're going to start lap 7 this time by. We'll see if Bikey has anything to challenge back on Sylvia.
Yeah, we'll have to see here. Sylvia was able to go out there and get that lead pretty easily, but right now he is being hounded big time by Brandon Bikey, and Bikey's actually able to get back underneath him. Not able to hold it, gets really loose up off the corner there.
Yeah, Jake Sylvia continues to pull away. For right now, he has a 0.6 of a second lead. Just back there in the back, Mike Rasmus continues to stalk these two. He's got about 1.1 seconds to the rear end of Bikey. That gap now closes down just inside 0.4 of a second. Make that 3 for right now. See if Rasmus can do anything. They're going to have 2 laps to go, and they cross the stripe. There we go.
Yeah, not sure if our camera caught it, but a couple laps ago, Safe Ferris had to pretty much end his heat race after a collision with the inside wall off of turn 2. Oh, this is a replay of it right here.
Oh man, looks like the two cars just come together. Didn't even look like a hard tap, but that is just enough to completely destroy the front end of Ferris' car.
Yeah, those water-filled barrels, they're a lot less forgiving on the iRacing service than in real life. You would have damage either way that may end your race, but definitely going to end your race if you hit them here tonight.
As actually, we saw a driver impact those same barrels. Whoa, one driver, Mike Rasmus, goes spinning as checkered flag flies there. Jake Sylvia take the checkered flag.
Yeah, I think that was almost celebratory from Rasmus there at the end of the heat race. Just kind of did a nice little McDowell 360 there and kept her going.
Yep, and I was just going to say though, there was a driver that actually, I think it was Joey Logano, hit those sand barrels at the end of the pit road wall. Heat number 3 results on your screen now. Jake Sylvia first, Brandon Bikey in second on his PGRL debut. Mike Rasmus, Mr. Consistency, in the 3rd place. Barnes Bonner in 4th. 5th is Brian Greenlee. Safe Ferris rounds out your 6-car field. Starting order for heat number 4, Joshua O'Connor is starting on the pole, followed by Aiden Gretz in 2nd. Brady Cure is going to round out the podium starting spots, followed by Joe Branch with Colton Salick in 5th, and Anna Beefcherski rounds out your 6-car starting field here for heat number 4.
JR, do you think that drivers who are in these later heats, do you think they have learned anything from watching the previous heats?
I would hope so. I would hope these guys have kind of watched the opening laps and give each other a little bit more room, because there's a lot of guys that have really been taken out of contention of having a good starting position in the feature race just because they have some contact very early on. You want to fill out your car the first lap or two, make sure you have room around everybody, then you can go race once you guys get single filed out a little bit, but everybody being side by side, being very aggressive, trying to get up front quickly is proven to cause some issues in the earlier heats. We'll have to see how this last heat goes.
Guys, Joshua O'Connor and Brady Cure did not grid up for this race, so either they've elected to start from the pits or they just want to make sure they get EOL'd for the main feature event. But regardless, that's going to bring our starting car count down for heat number 4 to only 4 cars. So as they stand right now, it's going to be Colton Salick on the bottom on the first row, the 27 car of Aiden Greats, first car up top, then Joe Branch is the second car on the top lane, and Adam Beef-Chersky rounds out the field. He's the third car on the top.
Be less cars to avoid, for sure. So maybe we can actually get the good heat rates in a non-contact race. But the big thing is, with the less cars out there for these guys, they're going to be able to move around on this racetrack and really be able to tell what their car's doing. This could give them a slight advantage as we get further into the race later tonight.
You'll have to see here. Colton Salick, he's going to gain 3 positions, as it were, in his line alone. He would have started the race in 5th. It looks like he'll start the race at worst in the 2nd position. iRacing pace car pulls down the track. I don't know if either of those drivers on the front row started the race, but Colton Salick is going to have the lead as they head into turn 1. Well, watch out there. Joe Branch getting extremely sideways. Alex Retz, excuse me.
Yeah, he did, but he was turning down the track, and he actually got a pretty good run, something that he can put into the memory bank later tonight. But definitely, you can make that run from the top side, get your car straightened out, and be able to throttle up more than the guy that's on the outside, still trying to get that car straight.
We'll see if Aiden has anything else for him here as they come off of the corner. Oh, give a little bit of contact between he and Salick. Still door banging. That's Gretz to the lead. Oh, more contact. That's going to put Gretz into the outside wall.
Yeah, he did what he had done earlier and just kind of over-rotated from the high side. Would have been fine if there wasn't a car below him, but yeah, you just can't run that line and over-rotate and get it pointed toward the bottom when there's somebody coming on the bottom.
That's going to put Colton Salick into lead. He's got Adam Jersky just in behind him, and Adam's got a whole head of steam. Remember, he started this race last on the field as they started. Would have started the race in 6th, instead started in 4th. He's gained a whole lot of time. We'll see if he can put any more moves here on the 91 car. Colton Salick's going to get extremely loose. They're going to door bang into each other. Adam Jersky up on through into the lead. Oh, Jersky got 2 sideways. He's going to bounce off the 91 car. Colton Salick back in the lead. Jersky falls to 3rd.
Yeah, and this is something that we're seeing as being a theme here in this heat race, and these guys are going to have to put in the memory bank and learn from it. If you get a huge run down these straightaways, you cannot carry that speed on the entry into the corners. The car just wants to over-rotate. You're going to have to back that entry up just a little bit.
Adam Jersky now down to the inside of Joe Branch in the 28 car. Move Jersky up on into the 2nd position. We'll see in a couple laps here if he can catch up to Colton Salick, if he has anything for him. Right now, the gap between the 2 cars is down to 1.1 seconds. I'll have to keep an eye on that delta as he tries to run down Colton Salick up at the front.
And last lap, he was over 4/10 faster, so he's got the speed to run down Salick. He just needs to be able to put a pass together and make it work, and then maybe put together a couple good corners and go on from there. Ooh, he gets over-rotates again. I just think, JR, I think a lot of these drivers are just getting a little bit too antsy with the throttle, both on entry, trying to get the car whipped sideways, and then getting back on the throttle on exit, and it's just causing over-rotations.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. When the track has a lot of moisture in it, like we'll see at the start of the feature race, you're able to use that throttle to kind of get the car turned sideways on entry, and you're able to use quite a bit of it, and you're able to use it off the corner too, and these guys are just not adapting so well once this track slicks off.
Adam Jersky continues to fall further and further backwards from the leader, Colton Salick. Right now, he lost 0.6 of a second. The lap before last lap, he lost 0.2 of a second. Last lap, 2 laps to go. So bunny ears the peace sign, if you will, up from Barney the flagman. Colton Salick's going to come off turn 4 this time by to get the white flag. 1 lap to go here. We'll see if Adam Jersky has anything left in the tanker. Maybe might Colton Salick make a mistake.
It's always possible on the dirt to do something in that last corner, make a mistake, and give the race away, but Colton Salick's going to finish this one off. But Adam Jersky definitely has a lot of speed. He's just got to be able to control it once it slicks off tonight.
Yeah, he's going to cut that lead more than in half. He's going to come off at turn 4 with what, 5/10 of a second. That deficit up to Colton Salick, so we gained a whopping 1.3 seconds on that last lap alone. But regardless, it's not going to be enough. Colton Salick is going to take the checkered flag here in heat number 4. That'll put him starting 4th on the grid for the 125 lap feature event. Adam Jersky finishes in 2nd, Joe Branch 3rd, Aiden Gretz rounds out the top 4 cars. That's all the ones who started. We'll have to see if the 2 drivers that should have started in this race get to start in the feature event. Joshua O'Connor, Brady Cure, the 2 who did not.
And I think the name of the game in those heats is going to carry over to the feature, and that's mistakes and minimizing mistakes, because of the fact that you could spin out and it won't be a caution. You could go laps down, lose all your track position. You really have only one chance to catch back up to the field, and that is at the halfway break, if you will. Remember, stage caution, or the stage will end at lap 63. But yeah, it's going to be kind of the just survival, racing the racetrack, in my opinion.
Take a quick second here to talk to our pole sitter for tonight's race, Jeff Ward. Jeff, you won this race last year. You did an amazing job to go ahead and come from the back of the field in your heat race. Do you expect the same kind of results later for this 125 lap feature?
Man, it's real nice to start up front for a change. I'm so used to starting in the back this season for having the past champion thing, but to be able to get up there and have a clean track right off the bat is cool. And it's tough. We got some dirt ringers out here. I don't know really what I got before. I kind of looked out in that east race and stayed out of trouble and was there at the end. But we got some guys that got some fierce speed out here. Hopefully we can get a good little lead, stay out of trouble, and be there at the end.
Well, Jeff, that's kind of been your motto, I should say, is you just go out, and JR likes to call it Jeff Warding the race. You just kind of get what the track can give you. How do you expect this track is going to change as the night goes on? And does that mean you're going to have to move your line and maybe just go out there and try some things that nobody else is trying?
Yeah, I really like the low line. Sometimes it's got speed and sometimes it don't. This track changes so much that you really got to stay on top of it. Got a couple guys that love running right up by the wall, so when that comes in, there'll be ones to watch. Yeah, but I expect it to be a lot like it was in heat races there towards, middle, towards the end of the race there. So it's going to be real slick. Got to be easy on the throttle, and just have to fill it out as it goes.
So tonight is the first and only time this entire season that we're actually going to have a stage caution at the end of the stage. Do you plan to come down pit road at that point? Do you see any tire wear that's got you concerned? I know the cars might be able to make it if they had a full tank of fuel all 125 laps, but I believe your guys' fuel tanks are limited to 75%. So you expect everybody to come down pit road at the stage break?
Really, man, it depends on track position. If I got any damage to fix or anything like that, I don't really worry about tires. Once they cool down, you'll probably be right back at the speed with them. I don't know much about the dirt tires, but I had 99% on the right rear after like a 20 lap run, so I don't know if that means anything, but I'll probably try to stay out there if I got good track position.
All right, sounds good. Jeff, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you can bring home win number 1 this season, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That was Jeff Ward, driver of the number 9 Camaro. You can see from that Kuiu car on your screen there. It's actually called the You Finish Last Pull Award, but this is probably the one time we can say it's You Finish First in your heat race pull award. Of course, brought to you by Mahan Speed Laboratories. This race is also sponsored by, largely, Mane & Tail. They're the trusted brand in all kinds of hair care. Originally formulated for the equine industry, Mane & Tail is a brand beloved by millions of people all around the globe. You can explore Mane & Tail's large array of products specifically formulated to your hair care needs. Whether it's recovering from helmet head after 125 laps at Bristol or a long day at the office, Mane & Tail will have your hair looking good and feeling its best. Give your hair the nourishment it deserves by checking out store.maneandtail.com. We'd like to thank Mane & Tail for sponsoring this event. JR, you can see, and the folks at home can as well, this track looks a lot more red clayish, that kind of light brown rust color going on, and that can be attributed to the fact that this track has just gone back to a 0% track state, so it's basically brand spanking new.
Yeah, definitely. They've watered the track surface down. It's got a lot of moisture in it right now. You can still see about where that cushion area is up toward the top, and a lot of guys are trying to work that off and move that cushion further and further up. But you want to make sure you don't get too high. When you get up into that really dark brown stuff, there's a lot of moisture there. A lot of guys, they end up calling that the soup, because once your car gets in it, the car just does not handle it. Just takes off, and that's where you'll end up getting in the wall or losing a ton of position. So these guys are trying to see just how much they can push that up the track and where that limit is right now.
So, Kenny, I'm going to put you on the spot. We like to do those Fox Super 6 bets with each other every weekend. They're kind of pulling what the room feels like. What's the over-under on wrecks that turn into 5 or more car pileups that we don't get a caution for because they're disabled?
Well, as far as, honestly, I don't think you're going to see as many of the big wrecks. I think you might see, a few, maybe, I don't know, I'd say 3 or less, honestly, because I think once you have 1 or 2, it's going to spread out the field for the rest of the duration of the run, because we won't have that caution until the midway point. So I think the big pileups aren't going to be the problem. I think it's going to mainly be, little skirmishes here and there, 1 to 2 car wrecks, things like that take people out of contention. But hey, it's just a guess, and I have not won on the Fox Bet Super 6 yet, so I could be very wrong.
Technically, we won in the 2021 Coke 600. We just did with like 10,000 other people.
Yes, the easiest one we won, and we won about $7.
Yep, $7.30. Jeff Ward's going to start on pole for tonight's race. He's going to have Shane Davis making his PGRL debut tonight. Jake Sylvia is going to roll off in third, followed by Colton Salick in fourth. Michael Krobach is going to round out your top 5 starters, followed by Woody Mahan. Brandon Bikey making his debut tonight as well, with Adam Drewski and Ryan Rose. Scott Eckridge rounds out the top 10. Mike Rasmus is going to start in 11th, followed by Joe Branch in 12th. Thomas George, defending champion here, is going to start in 13th. Brian Yazik in 14th. Clarence Bonner rounds out the top 15, with Aiden Gretz starting his outside in 16th. D. D'Ambiose starts in 17th. Starting his outside is Vincent Crow in 18th. Brian Greenlee in 19th. Joshua O'Connor rounds out the top 20, JR.
Yeah, starting in row 11, we have Creighton Carter starting 21st and Jason Galvin in 22nd. Row 12, we got Safe Ferries. He starts 23rd. Alongside him in 24th will be Brady Cure. And the last row on the field, we have Cosmin Yanishihu and 26th place, Will Farmer. We've got a small field here tonight, Austin, but there's still going to be a lot of action occurring.
Yeah, honestly, a pretty decent field size here, all things considered, to do battle here for 125 laps at Dirt Bristol here for the Get Dirty at Bristol, Get Clean with Main Intel 125. Jeff Ward starts on pole. iRacing Pace Truck has its lights out. It's about to make the hard left turn down onto pit road. As we get ready here, waiting for the green flag, Jeff Ward fires off a lot early than I think most of his competitors were expecting. Jake Sylvia has an extremely poor start there. Kenny probably didn't start in high gear.
Yeah, it's a common mistake. Drivers will start in a lower gear, and at least on the iRacing side, you want to start in the higher gear and just kind of slowly get the tires rotating. You don't want to be spinning them on the start.
Battle for the lead here as we come off turn 4 for the first time. Jeff Ward's going to lead lap number 1. He's going to have the 79 car down to his inside. Gets a little bit loose there. There's Shane Davis. He's going to fall back by about a car length or so back behind these two drivers. Jake Sylvia in third, all on his lonesome right now on an island, as you'd say. Battle for the lead continues to heat up, though. Jeff Ward on the top in the 9. He won this race last year. Man to his inside, extremely loose there in the 7.25, forces Jeff Ward up the track just a little bit. That's Shane Davis.
Yeah, Jeff actually moved up the track to give him room, afraid that the contact was going to send himself around, and in doing so, it allowed Shane to really get to the inside here. Shane's almost all the way clear, but Jeff has a huge run down the straightaway.
Yeah, he led that last lap, but in turns 1 and 2, he gets extremely sideways again, and that really blunts the momentum, Kenny.
Yeah, and you see how much he's over-rotating, really too much, but he's able to get away with that now because there's plenty of grip still left in this track. You know, we get 50 laps down the road, you won't be able to pull moves like that. You get the car that sideways, you're just going to go all the way around.
We're already going to come up to some lap traffic here. It's all going to depend on which driver Brian Yazik blocks. They're going to split him, though, as they go almost 4 wide. Tough run for Yazik here. He started in the 14th position. He's already fallen back to 23rd as they're door banging for the lead as they come off of turn 4. Jake Sylvia in the middle there, getting a little bit of contact from Jeff Ward. Falls back into the 3rd position for right now.
Yeah, definitely this lead is starting to heat up as Sylvia has now joined the party, and he's aggressive. He's looking to go get that lead.
Yeah, Jake Sylvia really trying to get this win here. Not too many times a year, only one to be exact, to a race on a dirt surface. They're going to come up to some more lap cars. That's Clarence Bonner in the 99 on the top side. Whoa, look out for the 38 car spinning around. That was Brian Greenlee, almost collected the 79 car. That's going to hand Jeff Ward about a 2nd lead.
It does, and you can see how these lap cars are already coming into play, and one of the things you've got to be looking way out in front of your windshield is where those lap cars are and what kind of issues they're having, because if they get loose in front of, we see a wreck on the front straightaway here almost, Colton Salick able to save it, but lots and lots of contact occurring right now.
There's still door banging and duking out there for the 2nd position, about 1.1 seconds back from Jeff Ward. The more these guys continue to fight, the more Jeff Ward is just going to pull away. He already gained 0.3 of a second on him that last lap.
Yeah, and I would say, Austin, the reason why Jeff Ward is doing so well in lap traffic is because of how he runs every race. He looks way out in front, and he pays attention to what's happening in front of him. He's driving laps ahead of where he actually is. He knows where he needs to place his car once he gets there.
Scott Eckridge right now riding around in the 5th position. He's another one of those drivers on an island all by himself. As you can see, that looks to be Aiden Gretz there on the inside with Ryan Rose to his outside. Another 2-wide battle just behind those two guys, Mike Rasmus and Thomas George.
One of the fastest drivers in the heat races, Adam Jersky, spun out, had some contact with Colton Salick and went around and did go 1 lap down. So Jersky all the way down in 21st place now. There's the tail end of the contact. Didn't really hit anything, but just lost a lot of track position.
Guys, we're going to have a battle for the lead on our hands in just a couple seconds. Jeff Ward has been out there. I think he's just been vibing, not really pushing too hard. Oh, he slams the outside wall in the middle of turns 1 and 2. This whole time, the 79 car has been catching up to him. You see one car go sliding down to the inside. I think... Don't quote me on that one. Oh, yeah, D. D'Ambiose out there. Oh, and Will Farmer gets sideways in turns 3 and 4 on the exit 4. He was perpendicular. Brian Yazik involved in that accident.
Lots of accidents continuing to occur, lots of them right in front of our leaders. We see Shane getting a huge run from the top side, turning down to the middle. They go side by side through the corner here, but looks like Jeff Ward's able to keep that momentum up at the moment on the high side.
They're going to come up to some more lap cars in just a second here. Those cars continue to be side by side. Jeff Ward staying resolute on the top there. Whoa, one car sideways up top. Jeff Ward in it.
Our leaders are collected. Yeah, Jeff with heavy damage. Shane got a piece of it, but I believe he's going to be able to continue.
Well, see, Kenny had just about that much damage at the end of our race, and I think, Kenny, that car was still driving just fine.
Yeah, you know, it depends. I mean, depending on where you get hit, if you get hit in the wheel or not, you can potentially keep driving, and the car is just fine. As we have a wreck in turn 3, another car, Thomas George is involved. Oh, and he just got hit by Ward. And on top of that, I believe, at least on my screen, Shane Davis has a meatball flag, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Oh, Salick getting some action there. It looked like Ryan Rose did as well. Yeah, Jeff Ward has a meatball. Shane Davis has a meatball. Thomas George has a meatball. Aiden Gretz has a meatball. Lots of sweaty Italian guys in here whipping up some hot, steamy meatballs.
Yep, and Davis is coming in the pits right now. Gretz is coming in the pits right now to serve it. Rose is already in the pits. D. D'Ambiose's in the outside fence out of turn 2. She came together with, I believe it was Colton Salick. George coming into the pits right now with a wounded race car.
And these guys don't have fast repairs. It's now like you get one car going the wrong direction. That's the 89 car at the end of the front stretch pit road just by the pace car. He's going to get that car righted. Looks like that was the 89 there, if I've seen the numbers correctly. Yeah, Creighton Carter facing the wrong direction. Scott Eckridge, meanwhile, in all that calamity, has gone up to the front.
Yeah, Scott's taking the lead of this race, guys, and he was strong here last year until he got into an accident. I know he's thinking about that right now with everything that's happening on this track, so we'll have to see if he's able to maintain and stay out of that trouble.
Yeah, Brandon Bikey just behind him. Another driver making his PGRL debut here tonight. Jake Sylvia currently in the 3rd position. Jake's got a little bit of damage, but nothing terminal on that car. In the 4th position, Michael Krobach. That'll likely be where he finishes. He really doesn't want a chance having the opportunity to talk to our own Kenny Kibbe up here in the booth.
Jeff Ward did just make his pit stop and is back out on the track. I believe he's only 1 lap down. He is the last car 1 lap down right now, but we'll have to see if he has a raceable car after serving his meatball. He does still have some damage on the front end.
Yeah,
you're seeing. Go ahead, Jared.
Nope, sorry, Austin. And just to follow up on Kenny with Jeff, he's got damage to the point that the front end's lifted up off the ground. And one thing about dirt racing is you do need a little bit of that valence down on the ground to help that car rotate. He'll be able to continue through this race, but he's definitely going to have less downforce, going to be a little bit slower on corner entry.
Right now, the closest battle you can see on track is the one on your screen. Currently, Brandon Bikey on the inside, and that's the 3 car. And again, if you don't recognize him, this is his first race in a pretty good racing league. The driver up top, new driver for this season, Jake Sylvia in the 18 car. That's Jason Galvin, the 42 machine on the bottom. Looks like it might be a pick for Sylvia. Not quite, though. He got super sideways off the corner. He had to back out of the throttle. Gifted that position back over to Brandon Bikey. 79 car comes into the mix. He is 2 laps down. That's Shane Davis, another newcomer here tonight. Trying out the apron.
Yeah, he is, and Shane's fast enough. He may be able to go back up there and get at least 1 of his laps back, and that could be important. We know that there will be a caution at one point in this race.
So Brandon Bikey currently in the 2nd position. Jake Sylvia moves back into 3rd. And the reason that's so important there for the 79 car, he can get the 1 lap back right here if he might be able to get the wave round when you have a caution come out later in the race. Or best case scenario for him, he races all the way up and gets that lucky dog position. But it'll be really tough, especially he's going to have to race with other drivers. This is the replay here. Thomas George having some difficulties.
Yeah,
Easy spin there.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he got that left front kind of in that transition area. It's not all the way down on the apron, but there is a place entering the corners that if you get that left front valence on, it really just pulls the car right around on you.
In iRacing, it's really hard to see where that transition point is because unlike real life, it's not painted white. Oh, his Kazuma Ionishu is in the wall out of turn 4, but it's really hard to see that transition. And when you try to run the bottom, you want to get right down to the bottom groove and grab the moisture, but sometimes you'll get on that transition and it upsets the car.
Oh, he does have a meatball. I was just going to say, I'd be surprised if he wasn't being black flagged to come down pit road by the sweaty Italian. Oh, Scott Eckridge barely gets in there and clips him a little bit. I can't really blame Scott for that one, though. He's really sideways already. Wes Cosman, so he does have a meatball. So this is Aiden Gretz in the 27 car. This is another replay. Just lost it coming off the corner. Lazy spin again.
You're just too aggressive on the throttle application.
Yeah, guys, we're only 28 laps into this race. There's only 7 cars left on the lead lap, Vincent Crowe being that last one, and he's not far from going a lap down to Scott Eckridge.
Yeah, currently, if we can take a look here at Vincent Crowe, Ryan, he's 20 seconds behind Scott. These guys are putting in 20-second lap times. He's going to get lapped right here. He might try to fight him off. And, of course, there's a 79 car. He was fighting for the lead just a little bit ago. That, of course, 79 newcomer there. Oh, Shane Davis gets into Scott Eckridge. They're going to spin trying to get his lap back. That's why Shane was racing him so aggressively.
Yeah, very lucky. That did not cause a big issue, and that could have taken both of those guys out of the race.
So now it's up to Scott Eckridge to see if he can't chase down Vincent Crowe again. And Vincent Crowe has got to be putting in the laps of his lifetime, trying to see if he can stay in the lead lap. Clarence Bonner goes for one heck of a spin there, coming off turn 2. And just as Scott gets closer and closer to Vincent, the 79 car here of Shane Davis gets closer and closer to Eckridge.
Yeah, and Scott's going to race him a little bit. He's not going to race him super hard, but definitely he knows that 79 is fast. If you can keep him a couple of laps down, that ensures that you don't have to deal with him at the end of the night.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough, though, for Scott. That 79 car is fast, and it's coming in a hurry. We'll say, though, for right now, Scott is being a big nuisance to that 79 car. He continues to just barely take away the line. I think Shane wants. He's going to rip the top side this time, high, wide, and handsome. We'll see if he gets it done. He's going to go try for a 2-for-1 special. might be able to get it done here. We'll see if Scott follows him around the outside of Vincent Crow. Looks like he's gonna.
Yeah, and right now there is a lot of speed. If you can at least get your rear tires up into the moisture that's at the top, that's right above the slick portion that we're seeing through the center of the track there. That gives you a lot of traction. You rotate the car getting in, get the rear end up in that stuff, and that gives you good traction down the straightaway.
And Kenny, for the folks at home, maybe talk through the differences in the color and what it means out there on the track. You've got that really dark gray stuff, almost black in the center. Then it gets kind of into that light brown, and then it's that dark brown stuff all the way up towards the wall.
Yeah, so you'll see at the very bottom of the track, it's kind of that light brown. That is where there's still moisture in the racetrack, where there hasn't been enough wear or usage to really slick it off. And then in the middle of the track, that's where the majority of the cars have been running. That's where the slick is. That's where the moisture is gone. That's where it's really slippery, and you want to keep your drive tires mostly out of that if possible. And then up at the top, you start to get where the cushion is, where the marbles are, where the dirt has been shot up the track, up towards the top. But there is moisture up there as well. So you will see drivers kind of go up to the cushion, and it'll actually help retain the car, because it's like a little barrier that you can hit with the rear end of the car to help keep your car inside the confines of the groove and make some speed up top.
Thanks, Kenny. We ride on board now with Scott Eckridge. This is looking out just over his windshield here, as you can see, out over the hood as well. That car, he continues to follow the 79 there, Shane Davis. He just got his lap back, so he's only one lap down now to our leader, Scott Eckridge. Currently the car's down only one lap. Vincent Crow, Colton Salick, Jason Galvin, Shane Davis, Cy Ferris, and Jeff Ward as well. Jeff's fallen down 2 laps, and it looks like his car is still badly damaged. I'm not quite sure he'll be able to challenge again for the lead like he was able to before.
You know, guys, there's been a lot of retirements already in this race. Joe Branch, Will Farmer, Brian Greenlee, Creighton Carter, Ryan Rose, Aiden Gretz, Thomas George, Cosmin Manishu, and Clarence Bonner, all out of this race already.
Yeah, a lot of retirees. I think just about half the field has already packed up their trailers and gone home. If not half the field, fastly approaching that number. You can see Adam Jersky, one of the cars, down onto pit road as well.
Yeah, a lot of guys going home, and this is one of the places where it could make your season. You don't have to have a fantastic finish. If you just complete all the laps, you can have a top 15 finish here tonight, and that could really make your season and allow you to drop other races.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised that even drivers that are struggling aren't trying to at least stay in the pocket here and keep going. As you see, Brian Yazik, they're going for another lazy spin. He's had a rough go at it, but he's still staying in there. And just by staying in the race, I mean, he's still 14th place, which is not a terrible place. He actually gained a spot because he just passed Jersky.
That's a good points day for him, though. I mean, to be fair, with how much up and downness we've seen, this season has been very volatile, especially to the we like to call them the old guard. They have good races, they have bad races. Brian Yazik has had about a DNF or two, and by the end of the season, this could be one of your better races that doesn't end up getting dropped if you just stay in here. Unlike Brady Tier, Joshua O'Connor, both those drivers starting this race 4 points alone, thinking this would be their drop race.
Yeah, we're looking on screen right now at Jeff Ward and seeing that damage that he has on the front end. Right now, I mean, he's rebounded pretty good. He stayed in this race. He's 2 laps down at the moment, though, but he is running in P11. And guys, I'm looking at his lap times, and he's turning lap times that are comparable to the leader. So it's just, if he can get some type of track position and get back to only 1 lap down, he could really salvage something here tonight.
Yeah, he could have something left here on the table, and sometimes, especially in these leagues where it's a big, long season, it's not about maximizing the good days. Sometimes it's also about minimizing the bad ones, and that's what running all the laps here could do for a guy like a Brian Yazik. He is 5 laps down. You definitely tell he's got a sizable pace disadvantage to some of the really fast guys there. Michael Krobach coming off the inside wall. He was on the lead lap until that accident. so still having a pretty strong day for him.
Yeah, he's had a. Sorry about that, JR.
No,
He has had.
perfect.
But he has had a few altercations. You see he does have some damage on the right front. Taking a look at a replay. This is the 44 of Safe Ferris. And it looks like he went for a... Whoa! Just barely dodged, mostly dodged the divider there.
It was a close call for him. That definitely smoked that car, and he'd have a meatball for sure. Oh, he does have a meatball. Safe Ferris does have a meatball, so a 44 car is going to have to come down pit road and pit for mandated repairs. And you can see that Air Canada car down on pit road getting those repairs done.
Yeah, that was a pretty solid hit that he took there to the rear of the car. More than likely broke one of the toe links, so he may be out for the rest of this race.
They're going to come by this time. Scott Eckridge is going to start lap 50 as he tries to put the 68 car of Mike Erasmus down one lap. There is going to be a stage caution. The first one this season should be the only one this season. It's going to come at the conclusion of lap 63, so when the top 10 most likely start lap 64, but we might just have to call it there because currently Scott Eckridge has lapped 10th place one lap, so we might see, and he'll probably do it 2 laps. Yeah, he's going to pace Jason Calvin this time by. He's the driver in the 10th position.
Yeah, and I expect, Scott Eckridge is lapped up to the 4th place. 4 cars on the lead lap right now. As he catches these drivers, they're going to race him harder and harder, knowing that stage end is coming, because they do not want to go a lap down and potentially lose track position.
Oh, Dee D'Ambiozzi into the outside wall. That's a hard lick for her. I think that 50 car, yeah.
Yeah, she just kind of got tangled up with the leader there and shot her up into the outside wall. She will continue and does not have a meatball flag, but and she goes for a lazy spin out of turn 2, but she'll save it.
D'Ambiozzi still has a raceable car. Colton Salick there in the 91 machine, currently in the 9th position. He's been run down by Shane Davis. Davis wants to take this position for himself. It's a battle, like I said, for the 9th position. Looks like Davis is going to have the nose on him this time by as they come off at turn 4. Yeah, move Shane Davis up one more position. A little bit of bumper-to-bumper contact from Colton Salick to the rear end of the 79 to Shane Davis. Shane, though, got to take that position away. We'll see how fast he can drive away with that spot.
Yeah, definitely the 79 is going hard because he's trying to get to be that first car that's a lap down. I don't think he's going to get there before the end of this stage, which will be unfortunate for him. But if everybody is able to pit, he may be able to take the waiver in.
Well, you know, if the fuel load isn't high enough and he didn't fuel the car late enough in the run, he might run out of gas there. We'll have to see, though. I'd be curious to see. I think everybody's going to have to come down pit road if they can't make it the whole race, the whole 125 laps here on a single tank of fuel.
Well, here's the thing. If drivers pitted, like, let's say, for example, like a Shane Davis, didn't he pit for a meatball earlier? So if he is... depending on when he made his pit stop, he might have taken fuel and might have enough fuel to make it to the end. It might be able to take that waiver.
He did, but I'd be awfully surprised if he did it late enough in the run because it says the fuel limit is 75%, and that means that you can't fuel it past that 75. That doesn't mean that you start with a low number of fuel. I don't think he pitted late enough in this first run here. See Dee D'Ambiozzi go for a little bit of a wild ride there off of turn 4.
We're going to have an interesting race for the possible lucky dog spot because Scott Eckridge is closing in on Woody Mahan, the 4th place car, to put him a lap down. Currently, the free pass driver is Mike Erasmus, who has been losing ground to Eckridge, and he won't be able to get to Mahan if Eckridge puts him a lap down. And Mahan trying to get around Colton Salick, who's already a lap down. He will possibly be 2 laps down here.
Woody Mahan in the 84 car, last driver on the lead lap. He's going to have Scott Eckridge just about a second and a half behind him. Scott continues to put on a blistering pace here today, lapping all the way up right now to the 5th position. No doubt in my mind before the end of the stage he'll have lapped all the way up to including the 4 spot there for Woody Mahan as well.
Yeah, and one of the things, early we saw everybody so close together at the front early, racing each other really hard, and now, like you said, Scott's really pulled that lead out. He's got a 5-second lead on his closest competitor. I think one of the reasons for that is just the line that Scott's been running. He's been off throttle more than a lot of these guys, and while you don't have a lot of tire wear on the iRacing service, the big thing on dirt racing is tire temperature. So the more that you apply that throttle, the hotter you're getting those rear tires and the more grip you lose throughout a run. Scott's been very good at handling that throttle control throughout the corners. So I would guess that his tire temperature is probably better than everybody else's out there.
Yeah, guys, I just did math on my own here. So we've got about 3 laps to go here before the end of the stage. These guys are limited to 75% of a tank of fuel. And Kenny, we could only go 125 in NIS, so that math puts me at right about 93 laps on the tank of fuel. So I think we're going to have to see everybody come down pit road unless you're only racing to the halfway point.
And I believe that should be the halfway point right there at lap 63.
Yep.
And there we go. So the caution came out just about 1 lap later. We'll see. I assume they'll just take the results from lap 63 as far as the stage points.
Well, it was supposed to be the end of 63, so it would be what just happened across the start-finish line there. And I don't think they cared to wait because if you wanted to wait till the 10th place car crossed the start-finish line, we'd be out here for an extra 2 laps. So all the cars getting stage points right now. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen, caution's out, field is frozen. Eckridge, Sylvia, Bikey, Mahan, Rasmus, Krobach, Davis, Crow, Salick, and Galvin rounds out the top 10.
And this is huge for the drivers who stayed on the lead lap, or really even 1 lap down, because as long as you don't have terrible problems in the second half of this race, it essentially solidifies you in a top 10 spot minimum.
So yeah, Scott Eckridge going to come down pit road. Guys, I really feel like everybody's going to have to come down pit road here. There will be a staggered pitting though, because the lead lap cars get to pit by themselves, and all the lap down cars pit by themselves as well.
Yeah, it'd definitely be a little bit interesting here, Kenny, to see if guys actually take tires. It looks like several of them are, but like we spoke about earlier, tire temperature is more important than anything. You can really get your tires cooled down during this caution.
Yeah, I think beyond anything else, it's like you're not going to really be hurt by taking them as far as track position, so you might as well just take them.
Well, not to mention, I mean, you're pretty much going to have to take, like a half a tank of fuel to finish off the race, so you might as well at least take right side tires, and odds are you're going to bolt left sides on at the same time as well, or just thereafter. So Scott Eckridge is going to win the race off pit road, Jake Sylvia second, Mike Rasmus in third, Brandon Bikey fourth, Woody Mahan in 5th. Everybody else has come down pit road this time by. We'll see who wins the race off pit road for all the lap down cars.
And yeah, it looks like everybody did have to pit, and so there will be no waiver rounds.
It looks like Michael Krobach is going to win the race off pit road for all the lap down cars. Barely just beat Jason Galvin across the line. Let's take a quick look here at the points heading into tonight. It's about darn time we looked at those. Scott Eckridge currently is your points leader, coming off a 3-peat, looking to make it 4 today if things continue to go his way. Michael Krobach second in points. Vincent Crow in third, missing some races, not having things go his way after leading the points earlier on in the season, drops him down to a podium spot. Mike Rasmus in fourth, just 1 point outside that podium behind Vincent Crow. Adam Jersky still hanging on, top 5 there in the points.
Yeah, and following him, we have Thomas George, who is out of this race for tonight, having a rough night, so he's going to drop a little bit. Cosmin Yanishiu, who he's had a little bit of a rough night. He's in 7th place in points. Brian Yazik in 8th. Cody Dempster in 9th place. And Jake Sylvia, who is actually going to be restarting in the 2nd position here, trying to go for that lead. He's in 10th place. He could move up a little bit tonight.
As we take a look further down into the championship standings, 11th to 20th place, Saif Ferris. Jeff Ward, very uncharacteristic season here for Jeff Ward. I put that up to him always having to start in the rear of the field. For he and Thomas George, this has been their best starting spot of all season, and unfortunately for them, not really taking advantage, just not really being able to by being in all those wrecks earlier on. But regardless, lights are out atop the iRacing pace truck here as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. Scott Eckridge, currently your leader here as we get set to finish off the second half of the Get Dirty at Bristol, Get Clean with Main and Tail 125. Scott Eckridge rockets off into turn 1 and 2. Jake Sylvia holding high there on the outside. Brandon Bikey, the number 3 car, in the 3rd position.
Yeah, and Eckridge was very wise about where he restarted. He restarted right up where that moisture is. Got a huge jump, so that way he didn't have to deal with Sylvia through the first couple of corners there. We see Jeff Ward and Colton Salick going at it here on the screen.
Got Jeff Ward down to the inside there. Vincent Crowey's going to pass this time by. You got Shane Davis trying to see if he can't get down around the inside there of Vincent Crow as well. Crow currently in the 7th position. Shane Davis, by virtue of getting that lap back earlier, it's going to pay dividends for right now, but he's still down 1 lap.
Yeah, definitely down 1 lap, but that means right now he can go all the way up into the 6th position, and we expect some of these guys to probably lose a lap before this race is over with. So potentially he could still get a top 5 out of this thing.
Jason Galvin in the 32 car. This is a replay here. Looks like Brian Yazik. Over rotates the car there, 360 Michael McDowell style, and keeps it going.
Yeah, we're halfway through this race. It's going to continue to get worse. That center portion of the racetrack getting extremely slick. By the end of this race, it's going to feel like you're on ice as you enter the corner there.
Taking a look back here further up at the top end of the field, Scott Eckridge continues to lead the race. He's got Jake Sylvia just about 0.3 of a second behind. The track continues to go through changes, JR, and right now it looks like it's suiting the 18 car there. Jake Sylvia just a little bit more than it is Scott Eckridge.
Yeah, Sylvia is really trying to push that cushion higher and higher up the racetrack. Now he tries to do the crossover and gets a huge run doing so. So he's going to take control of this race. But you can see how high he's running. He's running so high that he's overstepping the cushion and getting into the wall a little bit. But he's continuing to try to move that line further and further up the track. He prefers that high line. Looks like Scott Eckridge is going to try it as well now.
Yeah, Monkey, see Monkey do at this point. Right now you're going to have to run whatever line he is because he continues to pull away from that 70 car as the race continues to march on. Jake Sylvia now in the lead. Scott Eckridge in second. Over rotates the car just a little bit. In the 3rd position is that 3 car, Brandon Bikey, in his debut race here in the Pretty Good Racing League. Good, strong showing for him.
Yeah, absolutely. A good first race out. And one thing about him that I've kind of been noticing is he's able to keep his car extremely straight. Even as he's running through the loose stuff, he does kick it out on corner exit to try to get a straight launch up off the corner, but he's able to keep it pretty straight going in.
Going through some more lap cars for right now. The next one that 3 car Bikey is going to have to pass for the moment is the 55 car of Brian Yazik. Just talking about how he's basically making the best of not the greatest day in that 55 car. Still running right now in the 13th position, 8 laps down. Bikey going around the outside there. And in the 3rd position, 2.5 seconds back from Scott Eckridge just up the road. Eckridge with a 0.6 of a second gap here up to Jake Sylvia.
Yeah, and Eckridge kind of got out of his rhythm a little bit. But, JR, I'm seeing just these trends of, one driver will put together a few good laps and then kind of make a mistake. Another driver will put together a few good laps, make a mistake. There's not really nobody's really able to get into a good rhythm, and it's really making it hard for any of us to predict the outcome of this thing.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're correct. And the biggest reason for it is just this track is changing every single lap. You will get ruts or grooves that are kind of worked into the racing surface, especially as the moisture goes away. And if you hit one of those the wrong way, your car just does something completely different than it did the previous lap. So these guys are having a hard time at the moment, struggling with that. We see the leader bouncing off the wall from time to time. We've seen Scott get a little bit out of rhythm. But this thing is going to continue to slicken off, and the biggest thing right now is throttle control and not overheating those rear tires. Once you get those rear tires hot on a slick track, you're going to have a real hard time trying to control it, especially on corner entry.
Another update here, Colton Salick is manually disconnected from the race, so that's the end of his competitive day for now. And JR, Scott Eckridge continues to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. These last couple laps, he's been running down Jake Sylvia. I don't know if that's because Sylvia keeps bouncing the car off the wall. Maybe he's got a little bit of damage on that 18 car. Maybe he's just trying stuff out.
Yeah, I'm sure Sylvia's kind of moving around and trying things out, trying to see where a faster line it is, because that line's going to continue to change in the closing laps here. But the one thing we saw in the last run was Sylvia and Eckridge were extremely close together, and then by the end of that run, Eckridge had a 5-second lead. And I think a lot of that is just by controlling the tire temperature. If you're able to control that tire temperature, you're going to have more grip in the long run.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that 18 car kind of burns up his stuff, as you would. I remember before there was no wear on the dirt tires, but anymore I believe iRacing has gone in and kind of fixed that. So they do wear down there, but they always have gotten hot. And you can see Jake Sylvia continues to lose time lap over lap there to Scott Eckridge. And I think you might be right, Jared. I think that might just be attributed to that tire temperature you talked about.
Well, what I'm noticing also is like you'll see him be way up the track, but then he's been making a habit out of over-rotating in the middle and driving all the way down the track. And when he's doing that, he's losing a lot of momentum, whereas Eckridge is just kind of in a gradual slide, wrapping the bottom all the way around, the shortest way around. And this is a good view right here as Sylvia is probably noticing Eckridge making this line work, so Sylvia's starting to move down the track himself just a little bit. That top side not working as well as it was.
And JR, it isn't just on pavement that you can have that vicious circle there of tires getting hotter and losing grip. It's the same thing on dirt, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The hotter that they get, and particularly it's the rear tires, so that's where throttle control really comes into play. Not only will the throttle control allow you to keep your car straighter and run a better line and gain time throughout the corner, but it's going to help those tires stay cooler. And you can run really hard on a dirt track in the opening laps and think that you're Superman, but by the end of the run you're going to have a lot of trouble keeping that rear end under you, and guys are going to be catching and passing you. And that's a little bit of what we're seeing here with Scott Eckridge. He's been running in the slick for the majority of this run, and that means he's off throttle. He's having to control his car more, and right now he's got more grip than Jake Sylvia, it looks like.
Yeah, Brian Yazik there, the last car running in the field. Jake Sylvia, hard contact with the outside wall, finally gets that car pointing in the right direction. Oh, Saif Ferez really slow there on the backstretch. Both leaders, though, able to take avoiding action there.
Yeah, that could have been bad for both of our leaders. It was a little bit hard to tell where Safe Ferries was going there for a moment, but they both got around, and these guys are continuing to try to take that high line away from Jake Sylvia, because that's where he prefers to be.
Oh, that time by into the corner. Sylvia kind of helped pitch that 70 car, Scott Eckridge, into the corner. You could see those two cars, a little bit of contact before they went in there. That really helped Scott Eckridge out. I'm not sure that was because Jake Sylvia really trying to make sure he didn't get into the 70 car and spin him around, or maybe just Scott Eckridge kind of giving that car the beans and pulling away. Maybe you find something out right then, driving all the way down on the bottom.
Yeah, and it should be a little bit of an eye-opener, I think, there, because I think it shows that Scott's getting into the corner a lot easier than what the 18 is, and that's just because Scott is keeping his car more under control, able to run the bottom and mid sections of the track, while Sylvia's really trying to attack that top line, get into that moisture, and then come off the corner hard.
42 car Jason Galvin going down to the bottom of the track to let both the drivers fighting for the lead on by. Right now it's Scott Eckridge with about a half a second lead there. Next car he'll have to pass is Vincent Crowe in the 83 car. He'll be the first car that Scott's going to put 2 laps down on this run. Jake Sylvia, monster run though, coming out of the corner, gives a slight bump to the back of the Eckridge machine.
Yeah, he's not afraid to do some bumping on the racing surface at all. So Jake, if he can get there, he's definitely going to do that. Scott's going to try to run a line a little bit different just so he doesn't have to worry about that on-corner entry.
And Jay, we've seen that. Go ahead, Kenny.
Well, I was about to say, I think having Crow, as we got the leaders getting together a little, I think having Crow up in front of Eckrich and not really understanding where he's going to run on a given corner was really messing up Eckrich's rhythm there, just kind of being indecisive, and it's making it difficult for him to get around Crow.
Yeah, Vincent going down to the bottom of the track this time by. Going to allow Sylvia by. We'll see if Scott Eckrich can take advantage. Looks like he is going to this time by. They're going to put Vincent Crow down 2 laps. Jake Sylvia still your leader. Scott Eckrich in the 70 car right on his tail. Scott's going for 4 wins in a row. Jake Sylvia trying to get his first of the season. They're door banging as they come off the corner. Oh, Scott Eckrich super sideways. I don't know how in the world he saved that car.
Lots and lots of car control. He's been able to have a lot of speed in this race toward the end of the run. Right now he's going to have to kind of keep his emotions in check and continue to do what he's done throughout this run, because I believe he's got the faster car when they have open track.
Yeah, Jake Sylvia continues to not give Scott any sort of room. They're going to continue to door bang as they now head into the corner, turns 3 and 4 once again. Jake Sylvia around the outside. Scott Eckrich on the bottom. Drag race to the line. Scott's going to lead this lap.
Yeah, Scott's doing a nice job. I mean, look at where he's running. Guys, he's running through the slick portion of this track, and he's able to carry just as much speed as what Sylvia is up on the top side. So that shows a lot of car control, a lot of patience. He's just got to try to find a way to get away from that 18 so contact's not made.
Oh, Jake Sylvia continues to not give him as much room. You can see Scott almost all the way up the track as possible. Gets a little bit of a pitch, though, by the 18. I'll be honest, a sportsmanship-like move, though. It made contact with Scott, backed out of the throttle.
One thing I've noticed is when, first few corners after Eckrich has gotten into the lead, he's run kind of a slider line to maybe kind of sort of in an attempt to take away Sylvia's line when he decides to run up high. But I think it's slowing Eckrich down just a little bit. But he has extended a gap just a little bit. But yeah, see, he moves up the track just a little bit, kind of in an attempt at a hybrid slider line. I just don't think it's quite the fastest way around for him, but he does have a decent gap now. Oh, he over-rotates, though.
Yeah, he continues to do that in turns 1 and 2, especially on the exit of turn 2. Jake Sylvia able to gain about a 1/10 or 2 of a second every single time he does that. And as soon as they get down in 3 and 4, Sylvia puts his car in the wall, and Scott gets all that time back.
Yeah, that over-rotation, it looks like a mistake, but I really think he's doing that on purpose, guys, because he's coming off the corner with his left sides in that moisture stuff on the bottom and able to get a big run. He's not having to worry about the 18 who's coming hard on the outside. They make contact that time on the straightaway, though.
Yeah, Jake Sylvia put in the wall just a little bit, kind of reminiscent of what went on with Brian Priest and Kyle Larson. Not to the same extent. There was maybe about an inch between Larson and Priest there. I'd say maybe about a half a foot to a whole foot. Jake Sylvia into the outside wall once again. Whenever he does that, really blunts his momentum, especially coming off the corner. I think for right now, Scott Eckrich has enough of a gap. If he just runs whatever line he's comfortable with, I think he can continue to pull away from Jake Sylvia.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's just going to have to continue to run that line that he was running earlier. It looks like he's kind of going back to that, entering in the middle, sliding a little bit up, rotating the car, and coming back off through the center. That seems to be what paid off for him and kept his tires in good condition.
So Eckrich right now, 7/10 of a second lead. We'll have to see if he continues to grow this on lap 107 out of 125 here at the dirt-covered Bristol Motor Speedway.
And guys, I think we should maybe do a quick rundown of the top 10. You know, we have Eckrich, Sylvia, Bikey, and Razimus and Mahan are the top 5, the only drivers on the lead lap. 6th place is Shane Davis, a good recovery considering the problems he's had today. He's 1 lap down along with Michael Krobach. And 8th place is 2 laps down, that's Jeff Ward. 9th place is Vincent Crow, also 2 laps down. And the one and only driver 3 laps down is Jason Galvin. Good run for Jason Galvin. Started 22nd up to 10th. And he's got a 6-lap advantage on Safe Ferris, who is in 11th. So the top 10 pretty well locked right now.
Battle for the lead continues to get hot and cold, kind of vice versa. These 2 drivers up in the front continue to trade lap times. Scott Eckrich continues to stay down towards the middle half of the track. Jake Sylvia almost exclusively about 1 to 2 lanes off the wall. No more than 2, usually sticking just about that 1 car wide off it. throws that car in the fence that time by Scott Eckridge. Really big over rotation there coming off of turn 2.
Yeah, the track's continuing to get a little bit slicker each time they go around, and just one miscue on that throttle when you go to throttle up, just 5% more than what you did the lap before could really throw that rear end out. And Sylvia's there. He's going to boot Eckridge going into the corner and turn him almost all the way around.
Oh, Jake Sylvia looks like he's apologizing over the radio. Let Scott Eckridge correct that car. And I'll be honest, for as much as these guys have been continuing to go at it, there's been a lot of sportsmanship out of Sylvia and Eckridge towards one another.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to think of it this way. You can apologize all you want, but if you're just going to go and keep hitting me over and over after that, if I'm Scott, I don't know if I would be as accepting of these apologies.
Yeah, I'm with you there. If fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If at some point you're Scott Eckridge, you're going to continue to drive him like that. We'll see, though, if Scott can pull away or if Jake Sylvia continues. He'll let Scott get about 1 second out the windshield, and then he'll drive him back down and get right back to his rear bumper.
Yeah, and one guy that we see on the screen here as we're looking back from Scott Eckridge is Jeff Ward. Jeff Ward may come into play a little bit here because he's 2 laps down right now. He definitely wants to get back to that 1 lap down position, even though we're coming to about 10 to go, because if something happens ahead of him, he could gain a position or 2.
Yeah, certainly. He wants to do as well as he can, not just taking back one of his laps down. He just wants to be as far up the track as possible in case, like you mentioned, somebody maybe gets a meatball at the last second or has to come down pit road, maybe just makes a mistake. We've seen a lot of drivers doing it all day here. Just inside 10 laps to go this time by, they cross the start-finish line. Barney the Flagman giving them 2 high fives up in the air. Big over rotation there. Jake Sylvia coming off of turn 2.
Yeah, definitely. These guys are pushing really hard, trying to get everything they can out of it. And I got to be honest, guys, it's got to be extremely frustrating for Jeff Ward right now to be in that position. He has a damaged race car, but he shows that he had tons of speed and was able to keep up with these leaders here tonight.
And 2, if you're Jeff Ward in this situation, you really want one of your laps back. You want to continue to do as well as you can and go as fast as possible. But at some point, you're kind of fighting with the 2 guys battling for the lead inside 10 laps to go. Maybe not the classiest thing to do if you're in Jeff Ward's position.
No, absolutely. And one thing we've seen from the long-term BRL guys is that they're very respectful of one another. So I'm sure once Jeff got there, he kind of backed out of it because we see he's not chasing these guys down or really trying to put a lot of pressure on them right now. And that's because he realizes it's the closing laps and he wants to be respectful for the guys that are racing for the win here.
Guys, Scott Eckridge continues to go through these corners a lot cleaner than he was in the last, maybe I'm going to say 20 laps or so. He continues to keep that car a lot straighter throughout the entirety of the corner than Jake Sylvia does. Jake Sylvia continues to throw that car up into the outside wall. It kind of seems like he's kind of using that outside wall to help him rotate that car, especially in the center.
Yeah, I mean, when, as you look at a replay here, this is Vincent Crowe. And also want to make a note that Shane Davis has retired, and he was in the top 10, so he will drop at least down to 10th. I don't think he'll drop any further than that. We need to show the leaders.
Catch up to Vincent Crowe. Vincent stayed a lot lower. I think Scott tried to go to his inside to pass him, and Vincent, he's going to go for another slide here and almost spin out. There's going to be a drag race down the backstretch, guys.
Yeah,
and this is inside 5 laps to go.
It is indeed, and that's twice that these guys have had to encounter Crow, and it's really brought the lead together and brought contact from those leaders. So these guys are going to be battling out coming to 4.
Yeah, Scott Eckridge really loose there coming off of turn 4. That is a good defensive move. If he was trying there to hold off Jake Sylvia, Jake's going to get a big run up turn 2. Not going to quite get close enough to take advantage. We'll see if Scott Eckridge continues to slip up off of turn 4. And Jeff Ward going to go around the outside of the 18 car. Might be trying to slow him down. These two Loud Pedal Motorsports guys.
Yeah, definitely. And right now, the one thing that Scott's trying to focus on, it's really hard to do, but he does not want that 18 car to get to his inside, no matter what. Even if the 18 gets a huge run on the outside, he does not want to give up that inside down the straightaway, because if he gets to the inside, he's going to do a slide job and try to move him up the track.
Yeah, let's not forget here, if these 2 guys get together, kind of Chase Briscoe on Tyler Reddick circa 2022 style, Brandon Bikey's only about 9 seconds behind these 2, so something big is going to happen. It might involve that 3 car taking home a victory in his first race ever in this series. Jake Sylvia continues to wall right here. They're going to get the white flag to go for Scott Eckridge. That means 1 lap in the race. Marty the flagman waves the white flag this time as they head to turn 1 and 2. Scott Eckridge continues to roll down on the inside. Jake Sylvia brings that car down to the bottom. We'll see how big a run he can get going down the backstretch. Does he try for a slider? He's going to enter the car down low on the bottom. Tries to get to the rear end of Scott Eckridge. Not quite going to do it. Eckridge going to hold the bottom. He's going to come off at turn 4 and just barely get the checkered flag here at Dirt Bristol for the Get Dirty at Bristol Get Clean with Main and Tail 125. Jake Sylvia going to come home in the second position. Brandon Bikey going to finish in the third position. Well, we continue to let iRacing timing and scoring do its thing to go ahead and conclude the rest of this race. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to go through the entire finishing order, interview our podium drivers, and then wrap up the show. We'll see you in a minute.
Mane and Tail's new Ultimate Gloss Shampoo and Conditioner will make your horse's coat, mane, and tail shine like never before. Developed with groundbreaking technology that you can see and feel. And best of all, these products can help keep your horse's skin healthier too. This is because, unlike other products on the market today, the Ultimate Gloss Shampoo gets down to the skin to clean and remove dirt, debris, and dander. The rich lather easily rinses, getting rid of the toughest dirt and stains. You can actually see the dirt and dander rolling off of your horse as you clean them. The system is a great way to add that extra ultra luster like no other. The results are silky, shimmering, and incredibly soft, which lends itself to your other four-legged friends too. Ultimate Gloss Shampoo and Conditioner has conditioning ingredients like avocado oil, coconut oil, and many other proteins and vitamins. The gentle pH balanced formula is safe to use every day. In fact, the more you use the Ultimate Gloss system, the better cleaning and conditioning you'll see. Especially after your horse rolls, just brush that dust right off. Even though Ultimate Gloss provides such a high shine, there's no greasy residue, making it saddle safe and allowing you to ride with confidence, knowing your saddle will never slip. This revolutionary product is incredibly easy to use, with lightning-fast results and a deep-down clean. For more information on Mane and Tail's Ultimate Gloss Shampoo and Ultimate Gloss Conditioner, go to maneandtailequine.com.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
Welcome to you to the Chuckles. I'm in danger. 250 can possibly go to the outside. He does go to the outside of Ricky Harden. Tries a slide draft him. Harden goes up the track. Now back down to the bottom. Gets a huge push from Tommy Ryan at the start finish. It's going to be Thomas George.
Running the high line, trying to make that
got
pass.
loose off turn 4.
In the grass goes the 6 car, and they were side by side, 2 by 2 here.
Scott Eckridge winning the last race of the season and the championship.
Jeff Ford definitely getting the championship for season 2.
Give it up for Thomas George winning the race and the championship. George overshoots the corner. Scott puts that car just where he needs to on the middle. It's going to be a drag race through the kink. Welcome back to the Get Dirty at Bristol, Get Clean with Mane and Tail 125. 8th race of the 2023 PGRL season. Scott Eckridge makes it 4 for 4. Might as well go to Wendy's at this point. Jake Sylvia comes home in the second position. Brandon Bikey In his debut race here in the Pretty Good Racing League, finishes third in the number 3 car. Mike Rasmus shows why we always call him Mr. Consistency. Comes home in the 4th position. Woody Mahan with a strong top 5 for him. Michael Krobach wins the Crow versus Krobach show. Comes home in the 6th position. And last year's winner here, Jeff Ward, involved in a pretty major contact. Gave him a lot of damage in the first 20 or 30 laps of this race. He'll have to settle for a 2-lap down 7th place finish. Was in the lead when that wreck happened. Vincent Crowe is going to come home in the 8th spot, followed by Jason Galvin in 9th. Shane Davis rounds out the top 10. Coming home in the 11th position, that's going to be the number of the 44 driver, Saif Harris, followed by Brian Yazik in the 55. Colton Salick comes home in the 13th spot, followed by D. Dan Biozzi in the 14th position. Coming home in 15th is Adam Jersey with Clarence Bonner in 16th. Cosmin Ioannishu comes home in 17th, followed by Aiden Greats in 18th. Thomas George in 19th. Creighton Carter rounds out the top 20.
Yeah, coming home in 21st place tonight is Ryan Rose. 22nd place will go to Will Farmer. 23rd to Brian Greenlee. And 24th will go to Joe Branch. And a couple of guys that didn't start the feature race but ran some heat race action was Joshua O'Connor in 25th and Brady Cure in 26th.
Thanks, JR. We'll take a moment here to talk to our race winner. Scott, you've gone 4 for 4 here in the last 4 races. It's got to be a pretty amazing feeling. You go into Wendy's after this, or it might have discontinued that promotion?
I wish I had a Wendy's around here. I could go for that right about now. I worked my butt off tonight. I need a treat.
Well, it looked like you did. It looked like it was really hard to keep that 18 car behind you. You do a really good job to stay kind of cool, calm, and collected there on the bottom. And every time you built up a good lead, you maybe get a little bit too sideways, and Sylvia might use that wall to help him catch back up to you.
Yeah, last year when we ran this track, I actually practiced a little bit and learned how to control that rotation in 1 and 2. And this year, I feel like I had it for a few laps, and then I just forgot how to drive altogether and just let them get through the whole gap away. But it was a hell of a battle at the end, and big props to him for letting us kind of race it out after he got me that one time. So it was definitely real fun here. It's hard with these next gen cars just to get the cars to take any sort of line that you want them to.
So I believe this winning 4 in a row puts you kind of up there with the handsome Harry Gatton. I think Kyle Larson might have done it too. Any chance you can go 5 for 5 next week at the Paperclip?
I could try. I'm typically pretty good there. I need the Super Speedway though to complete the track type trifecta or quadfecta, pentafecta. I don't know. Whatever we're up to.
It's a lot of them, but yeah, so far you've been winning a race at every single type of track we go to. Maybe you can keep it going until we get to Talladega. I don't know. That'd be pretty impressive.
Yeah, that would definitely be good. I do not usually do pretty good at the plate tracks, so that'd be pretty tough go at it to get all the way up to there. But these guys are tough, and it's kind of been my wheelhouse of tracks there the last few weeks. Even though they've been different types, they've been good ones for me. So I'm kind of entering a lull period for me on the favorite track side of things. So it's probably about all she wrote on that street.
Well, Scott, as always, before you go, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, just like to thank all you guys in the booth and all the LPM guys, and to in fact confirm that Pentafecta was what I was going for, and that's it.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on the win, man.
Thank you, guys.
With that, I think, JR, you've caught up with the second place finisher, Jake Sylvia.
Indeed, I have, Austin. Hey, Jake, congratulations on a second place run. That's back-to-back second place finishes. Talk us through your race, but also the changing track conditions that you guys are having to deal with.
Yeah, going through practice, I showed up a little bit late, so the track was already pretty worn in. Got through the heat races, and nothing had changed. We carried over with the track surface. They didn't do any track work to it, so the heat races were pretty rough. I was hoping that that's what we were going to have for the feature, but the feature, it just got torn up. It started off early. It wasn't too bad. I kind of like it when it gets a little bit slicker, but having constant green flag like that, with that many cars out there for the first 25 laps or so until they started falling, it really just it caused a lot of ruts. We were hopping around a lot, really, really hard to control the car. But other than, the lap cars were, everybody's out there, everybody's in an element that that they're not used to, and we're not used to having these cars on a track like this. And even whoever is used to dirt racing isn't used to a paved asphalt short track that has, all this banking covered in a couple inches of dirt. So it's definitely rough. Lappers definitely made it really hard. I think I got wrecked by about 3 or 4 of them in the first half of that race. So that was tough. Battling back from, just constant damage to the right front. And then just got to the end, and I think those last 25 laps or so, me and Scott were battling hard. I talked to him afterwards. I made a couple mistakes, got into him. Each time I came right over chat, just told him to gather it up and keep on going. I didn't want to get him like that. So other than that, it was just really just throw balls to the wall and either put it on the top or just be safe around the bottom.
Yeah, for sure. And the one thing I did want to ask, we saw some contact at the end racing for the lead. How tough is it to go side by side when the track is worn in as well as it was here, and you're running into all those ruts and those different grooves, the track getting torn up? How hard is it to control it when you're side by side?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. I probably could have passed Scott around the outside, but I knew the risk that I was running, because all it takes, as you saw those last 25 laps, once that track really started to go away and it really started to run up in the corners, both of us, the middle of the corner, we're sideways, and then we just drive it down off the corner. So getting anywhere, getting on the inside, at least in that position, it forced him to either stay up high, or if he did come down like that, he would have spun himself out. And that way it's not that way it's more of a racing deal, and it wasn't I went in there and wrecked him. But if I go to the outside, and then the same thing happens, and I come down and I clean him out, or both of us, or whatever the situation is, then it's on me, because that's on the guy on the outside to control his race car when they're side by side. So that was the biggest thing for me, was just making sure I didn't go to his outside and I didn't risk ruining my race and his race. But the straightaways were horrible. I got up on the inside of him one time, had a really good run, and I was just going to take it, and I hit the ruts, and you just can't do anything. It's like motocross whoop section. You just hang on for dear life, and unless you're backing out of the throttle, the car just kind of drives itself.
Absolutely, definitely challenging for sure. Looked like it from our perspective up in the booth, but you and Scott definitely completely pulled away from the field with that. I guess you guys were 10-second plus over the third place driver. But next question I got for you, let's step away from Bristol a little bit. You're coming off back-to-back second place finishes. How do you feel going to the next track, going to Martinsville next time?
I would love to say I'm confident, because that's my wheelhouse. That's the one track that I absolutely love. I adore the flat tracks, tight corners, heavy braking. But this car just kind of, it puts a question mark there. I do have a couple of the official NIS races to do this week to try to get some sort of understanding for it. But it's tough. This car is really, really unpredictable. Just the way the rear suspension is built. You can come off of the corner, and sometimes certain lines, although it's what you're doing as to why the car reacts the way it does, it still doesn't let you know. Like, there's no feeling behind the wheel of you're losing traction as it goes, and you're going to lose. It just comes up on you and steps out. So that part of it is extremely difficult. It's extremely hard to balance that. And then on top of that, it's Martinsville. We see what happens there in real life. We see what happened at Richmond last week. It's just going to be a bumper fest. I would assume probably right around like 15 to 20 cautions. It's 200 laps. It's not going to be a necessarily an enjoyable race, but it'll definitely be something. A lot of restarts, so something I'm good at.
Definitely probably going to be a long night for sure next Tuesday night. But hey, Jake, before we let you go, who do you want to thank for tonight's run?
Once again, you guys up here in the booth, you guys are doing an awesome job. Broadcasts are amazing. Everybody that put this deal on. Although not many people are happy after tonight. This race was interesting. But either way, the admins, everybody did a great job at doing what we could. Putting together the heat races and everything just really worked well. So I appreciate everybody there.
I really appreciate the kind words, Jake, and congratulations on that second place run, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Guys, that was Jake Sylvia, our second place finisher, and with that, I believe Kenny's now caught up with newcomer Brandon Bikey.
Yeah, Brandon, it's your very first race in the PGRL, and you bring it home in a top 3. That's got to make you feel good.
Yeah, it feels great. I'm glad they had me, and it was a lot of fun out there. It was crazy, but crazy fun.
So coming into this, did you realize that the dirt race was the first race that you were going to be running from the get-go, and is dirt in your wheelhouse? We aren't going to have a good indication of what kind of driver you are yet until we kind of go to Martinsville next week, because this is kind of an anomaly. But were you looking forward to a dirt race to start out?
Actually, I was invited by Michael Krobach because I had raced a couple dirt races this past week. So I did know it was a dirt race coming into it, and I've had a lot of fun at Bristol Dirt. I know a lot of people complain about it. I do not have any kind of dirt racing pedigree at all. I think I've only completed 17, or I've only run 17 or 18 official races in dirt. So it's not something I've done a whole lot of, but it's a lot of fun. I don't know, Bristol Dirt, just with this car, I seem to have a good grasp on it compared to most. I'm not as good as the top 2 guys there, but and then my teammate Shane, who was flying, I wish he didn't get engine damage in the middle of that race. But yeah, it's fun. It's just wild and it's crazy. And the format was cool because there was no yellows. Obviously, I've been running officials and other leagues and stuff where there's yellows, and you're just racing about 2 or 3 laps max and then having a yellow flag. So this was a lot of fun to just try to get in the groove and keep rolling.
Yeah, I feel you there as far as the no cautions thing. It definitely helped things flow. But so we have 4 races left on the season schedule, and then we'll have another season, the kind of summer swing, if you will. Do we expect to see you for the rest of this season and full time into the next?
Unfortunately, no. This Tuesday's not a night I can race a whole lot on, but I did. I've been wanting to race in the Pretty Good Racing League for a while, for the whole season since it started. And I just haven't had an opportunity to get out here. So I'm glad it all lined up right tonight. I won't be here for Martinsville next week, mainly because I despise that track and will not race it under any circumstance. But I can't wait to get out with the guys on some of the 1.5 mile tracks and see, where I stack up. So I love racing. Most of these guys are racing a lot of the officials, so it was kind of natural stepping right in and racing with them in this league format where it's a fixed setup. So
yeah, we got Talladega, Dover, and Kansas to round out the season after Martinsville, so we hope to see you at least one of those. But who would you like to thank for the solid run tonight?
Well, definitely want to thank my main sponsor, Team Watson Racing Setups. That's mainly what I do in this game, is do open setup racing. Kenny Coppola does our setups for the open setups on the A Cup Series division. So he is just a wizard with setups. So anybody looking to get into a setup shop, it is just such a great place to be, Team Watson Racing. I want to thank my teammate Shane Davis. It was also his first race tonight. Like I said, he was flying, and I feel so bad that he got turned into the wall and had a meatball and had to come in and get that fixed and wasn't able to get back on the lead lap, or else he would have been the one probably sitting in victory lane. And then my team, Dark Tempest, that I race with as well. I definitely want to thank Michael Krobach. He is a great guy. I'm glad he's on the men's, and he's the one that invited me out. So thank him. And then thank Virtual Grip Network for doing the broadcast of these. You guys sound great. I can't wait to watch this back and listen to it. And then lastly, but most importantly, my wife, Lindsay, she puts up with me doing this every night. So I appreciate that. And it's a lot of fun. Anybody that doesn't sim race right now and wants to get into it, it's the best, just the best time.
Well, Brandon, it was awesome being able to see some new talent on the racetrack tonight. Congratulations on the good run, and hopefully we see you in the future.
Yes, sir. Thank you all again.
That was Brandon Bikey, our third place finisher tonight. Great run for him, and we'll send it back upstairs to Austin.
And I'd like to thank all of our competitors there, especially the podium finishers, for taking the time to talk to us towards the end of the race. I'd also like to thank tonight's main sponsor, Mane and Tail. They're the trusted brand in all kinds of hair care, originally formulated for the equine industry. Mane and Tail is a brand beloved by millions of people all around the globe. Explore Mane and Tail's large array of products specifically formulated to your hair care needs, whether it's recovering from helmet head after 125 laps at Bristol or a long day at the office. Mane and Tail will have your hair looking and feeling its best. Give your hair the nourishment it deserves by checking out store.maneandtail.com. We'd like to thank them for sponsoring this event once again. Guys, this was a crazy race. I'll be honest, I was expecting a lot more calamity, but I think not having cautions really gave the guys a good opportunity to go out there and just run their race.
Yeah, it absolutely did. We did see some action there. Lap cars coming into play with the leaders, especially early in the race. But ultimately, Scott Eckridge coming away with the big win, having a ton of momentum as we go through the last half of season 1. So it's going to be a big question on who can chase Scott down in these next few races and try to prevent him from continuing his winning ways. Also, we saw Jake Sylvia continue to have a great run. Those are two names we're going to have to continue to watch. And then also, I think we got to watch Jeff Ward moving forward. He had a lot of momentum tonight, had some bad luck, but definitely has momentum on his side going into Martinsville.
And a lot of times, in Bristol Dirt here is obviously an anomaly. It's the only time we'll race on a track like this all season long. And a lot of times when you have anomaly racetracks, you end up with different people up front or different winners. That didn't necessarily play out this way today. You had Eckridge and Sylvia, two of the drivers that we see up front every single week, finishing 1-2. So I think some drivers might have seen this as possibly a missed opportunity. Other drivers just wanted to kind of get out of here and survive. We saw plenty of drivers struggle tonight. But they'll look forward to going to Martinsville, where cautions will be turned on. So hopefully we don't see too many of those next week.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more about the cautions there, Kenny. We'll be back next week live at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time, as always, Tuesday, April 18th, as we head to Martinsville Speedway, also known as the Paperclip. And this Friday at 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time, April 14th, the Bootleg Racing League Super Late Model Series heads to USA Speedway. Make sure to tune in to that broadcast. This has been a pretty good production of the Virtual Grip Network. On behalf of myself, Austin Belke, my booth mates Cher Shepard and Kenny Kibbe, our director Ryan Seneca, and producer Lowell Jewell, as well as everyone else behind the scenes at the VGN. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good night.